Sometimes you just got to let it fly in this track and forget putting the bike where you want it. Just let it go.
Yeah, but watch as they come down through here. This is a pretty tricky section. They've actually smoothed that out, but you can see how on a smooth track, they would not ride these lines. They're zigzagging all around trying to miss the bumps, and look who's sneaking up in third.
All right, it's still close. You got Tedesco, Brayton. Let's see who's going to take this Moto victory out here at Unadilla. We're reaching the halfway mark. Short, trying to keep the pressure on Reed. Unadilla, another classic in the making. It's a great retro weekend. Stay with us here on Speed. Don't miss a motocross race. Now it's Speed On Demand online. Get caught up on the action or relive the season's biggest moments. Just log on to speedtv.com, keyword MX, to watch the 2009 races online, on demand, anytime. That's exclusively at speedtv.com. Chad Reed in the lead, but let's talk about the history of this great event with some of the legends here at Unadilla.
When I was growing up racing, you know, the kind of motocross tracks that you kind of at that era was, you know, you're kind of like the European style tracks with grass, and you had big fields and mountains, and I think Unadilla kind of had that look to it, you know. So I think it was when you got out, the first time I ever rode on the track, I rode around it, I almost got lost. The track was so wide, the grass is so deep, you know. You're looking around, I couldn't figure, because I'm used to the little tracks in California, you know, and dust and big blue grooves everywhere. And so Unadilla has pretty much kept that feeling, that kind of track, and it's really pretty much what I think most of my generation dreamed of riding on.
The history here is incredible. What the Robinson, we were talking about it today, what they founded here in the beginning, they didn't know, and they do know now, the world knows. When a racetrack is more famous than even riders, right?
Yeah.
Unadilla.
Unadilla is a special place because back in the early days of motocross, it was 60,000 people here, and it was just a wild weekend. It's probably just a big party.
Battle brewing here for the number 2 spot. Andrew Short duking out with his teammate, Ivan Tedesco. The cool thing about racing here, they have not changed that much of the track. They've put in a few new sections the last few years, but basically you can look at that old footage and see all the motocross greats and how they attacked each and every one of these sections, and then compare it to what you see racing right now.
Yeah, the track stayed pretty much the same for about 30 years, and then within the last decade, they made a few changes. This actually went up the hill and came back down. They closed that back up and made it the old school section. But added some bigger jumps that to kind of suit the bike more, and the style of motocross that we have in 2009. But I'm telling you, it still is legendary. The riders, everyone out there wants to get that win at Unadilla, and especially this weekend. This has been the fans have just turned out in droves, and it's been a really fun weekend for everyone.
Well, Honda is celebrating their 50th anniversary here in the U.S., and this is how they want to do it to the motocross side, bringing out the retro bikes. So you've got Short on the 1986 look Honda, and the 1974-ish era Honda that Tedesco's on. Underneath, the bikes are identical, and Tedesco also sporting some retro gear. Yeah, 70s style. So you like the orange and yellow stuff back then, and that's what he's wearing in that number 3 spot.
Yeah, that orange, yellow, red Moto X Fox stuff. It was pretty definitive back in the days, because they were actually one of the first gear manufacturers that ever had their own race team, and so they really locked in the image and the look and all that, and that's what they've transferred over this year for the riders.
Short fighting that bike. That used to be the finish line straight here. We've changed the finish line over to Gravity Cavity, which is the big jump that'll be coming up in just a few corners. Been a tough season for Short. He's made all the races, which, considering all the injuries we've dealt with in this 450 class this year, is good, but we hear that he might be struggling with some sort of illness. Doesn't really want to get into it that much, but he's had a couple opportunities to get his first win this year and has not been able to seize the opportunity. And Short is known as one of the fittest guys on the tour as far as training, so a lot of people are theorizing there might be something amiss with Short. But these riders don't like to give anyone an edge, so until it's obvious, until the bone shows, they don't want to talk about it.
Well, that is the story of Andrew Short's season. He switched trainers this year, started working with the legendary Jeff Spencer. Was hoping to up the middle game, to find that missing link to get on the top of the podium, not just on the podium. He's failed to do that this year. He failed in Supercross, he failed in motocross. Still had a stellar year. He's one of the top professionals out here, no doubt one of the strongest riders. Right now running second, but for him, his goal this year was to win, and he's failed to do that. this moto, Chad Reed looked like he has that in hand too, and unless something crazy happens, it looks like that win's going to elude him one more weekend.
Now here's Tedesco back here in third. He has gotten that win earlier in the year in Colorado. He won both motos. Remind everyone at home, you can watch the first motos of this tour at allysports.com, and then our second motos we'll cover here on Speed. Tedesco's had some great runs, and he's on the Nations team this year.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that I was speaking of, is that if you remember back to the race that we did from Lakewood, Colorado, Ivan Tedesco comes out and blows everybody away.
Yes.
Dropping the gate to the checkered flag, leads every second of the race with ease.
Yeah.
Short has not had that type of race since he's moved to the big bike class, and that's, once he gets one of those, once he can find, you know, whether it's luck or just really putting the hard work or however that's going to happen for him, once he does that, he's going to realize, hey, I can do this. In my opinion, it's all mental. Okay, he certainly has the speed, the fitness, all of that, but for whatever reason, you know, only the rider knows, he's had trouble getting to that top step.
Well, on the opposite, oh man, Tedesco just got nailed with Bruce. On the opposite of that, you got Reed out front, who is able to let those guys run up front early. He's confident he can get them late. Now, how do you set up a bike for this rough and rocky racetrack? Let's get in depth with Jeremy Albrecht with our Toyota Tech Tip. Jeremy, they put some special guards on their bikes so they can survive all this rocky roost.
All right, I'm going to talk to you guys about Tech Tip here at Unadilla. The main thing that we have problems with is a roost from the riders. Rocks are flying off the tires into the bike. So what we do is we have hand guards to protect the rider's hands. We don't have broken knuckles. We actually have a carbon fiber shield to protect the forks. We have an extra piece welded on here onto the pipe. FMF does this for us. You can see it's welded on here, and that's so that the rocks don't damage the pipe. And then we also run heavier duty tubes in the tires so that we don't have any flat tires. So it's called an ultra heavy tube. And that's what we got here at Unadilla.
Welcome back, Lucas Oil AMA Pro Moto Cross Championship. Jason Wygant, Jeff Emig, and Aaron Bates here to give you the call. Ivan Tedesco and Andrew Short here to do battle for the number 2 position on a pair of retro-themed Hondas. And there's not going to be much left of the retro graphics on Tedesco's bike. He is eating a lot of roost from his teammate Short. Short on the red bike at 29. Tedesco on the silver or gray one, number 9. Tedesco's been back there for quite some time. Can't figure out a way to get around Short yet, Jeff.
Well, and in the meantime, he is taking just loads of rocks and dirt. This Unadilla mulch, you can see the front of his bike there is just really dirty. And you notice he doesn't have any handguards on either. I'm telling you, he's been pressuring, but he has to, right there, once again, just gets blasted. Notice he's got some logo, some words there on the back of his pants, throwing tribute to Mark the Bomber Barnett. Seems to be a popular rider here. Yeah, thinking about retro racing. So
Tedesco gets the feet off the pegs. That's how tricky this track can be. Just when it looks like someone's starting to dial things in, you'll see them make a little mistake like that. And Short might be able to weather this battle after all, because now Tedesco has Brake right behind him. Burns still back in 4th. A shout out to Kyle Regal, who's picked up a new ride with Valley Motorsports Yamaha. He's 6th. Swanepoel, the South African who races in Europe, is 7th. Tim Ferry back in action is in 8th. Jared Brown, privateer, who is great at Moto Woman of the 9th, is 9th again.
Yeah, and then my buddy Robbie Marshall out of Massachusetts running inside the top 10. And he talked to him before the race. He said he thinks that he has a top 10 in him, qualified 13th. So good job for Robbie. Let's see if he can keep it going.
And there's Short. Let's go down, Aaron. What do you got, Aaron?
Well, you guys, there's been quite a bit of drama going on down here, especially for the JGR team. Both Christian Craig, the number 578, and Cody Cooper both pulled off. Christian Craig, there was something wrong with the suspension. Earlier this afternoon, what they did, they changed up absolutely everything, the forks as well as the shock, but he came out dead last from the gate. What happened during that point was the AMA had fined him and moved him out to the final side when he stopped during the sighting lap, which you're not allowed to do, but also a tough break for Tommy Hahn, who just left here. He crashed into another rider. He said he wasn't sure who it was, but he did bend a couple parts during the front of the bike. They adjusted the lever. They had to adjust the front disc. Definitely a disappointing moto for Tommy Hahn. He's got a little luck there in those first motos. If only he'd be able to get some luck for the second one.
Yeah, good point,
Exactly
Aaron.
right, yeah.
Hahn second in the first moto in our last race. Didn't finish the second moto. Same thing that happened here. The replacement guys, there's been better days. Gareth Swanepoel's got to be happy with 7th, but Christian Craig not able to finish either moto, and same thing for Gerke, who just had all sorts of problems. And I believe Craig and Gerke will be back at our next race at Butts Creek. So another opportunity to impress the big teams that they've gotten a quick opportunity to impress. just for a few rides.
Yeah, and as this race, Bruce here up front, you have to know that Coy Gibbs, Jeremy Albrecht, everybody there at that Toyota Yamaha team has got to be disappointed.